How you doing? David in ARC here, and today I'm going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about the new things you can do with analytics that talk about your impressions versus click-through. So we'll get into a little bit all that, but I'm going to show you how you can use that information to your advantage in order to make your YouTube videos more clickable, more approachable. You want to make them to where folks are going to actually click on them after seeing them. So you get there by going to studio.youtube.com and then go to your analytics, and that'll bring up your analytics. So, but what you want to look at is across the top here, you want to look at reach viewers, because this is where this data really comes in handy and hopefully gives you an idea as to what you might need to do in order to fix some things, or at least get a bead on where your impressions are and who's clicking through those impressions. So an impression is literally when someone sees your thumbnail and the title of your video. That's an impression. So in this case, in the last 28 days, I've had 187.2, so a little over 187,000 impressions of my videos, meaning that there have been 187,000 times that my thumbnail has shown up over the last 28 days across multiple platforms, different places, what have you. Then you have what's called the impressions click-through rate. And what that is how many, the percentage in this case, someone sees the thumbnail and they click on it to watch the video. That is click-through, and that is the key. Ideally, 10% is kind of the high point, and so anything that's essentially, technically speaking, 5% or above, based again on some of the poking around that I did, most folks say that if you're hitting 6% or above, that you're in pretty good shape, and they wouldn't change it. But if it's at that 5% or lower, then there are some things that need to be tweaked. And again, this is overall for the last 28 days. But what I can do is, you see this chart running across here. And so, you see the percentages here. Now, at the very end, it tails off, and that's because the data lags behind a couple of days. And there was somewhere in here, like the 4th and 5th or something, there was a notice that YouTube was still working on that, at least at the time I'm recording this. So here's a great example. This one here is at 3.2%, and you see here that there were 2 videos published around this time. I have Depraved, a Laggy Old West something or other, excuse me, and Beware, the horror driving game. So what I can do is I can click on either one of these videos in the list. So let's go ahead and click on this. And I have not seen this at all. So this is new to me, as it is to you. You'll notice that in the upper left-hand corner, it has the name of the video. So that lets you know where you are, because as you start clicking through things, it can get really confusing as to where you are in the scheme of things. So as we see here, it starts with the overview, which is all well and good, but I'm more interested in impressions and click-through. So look at this. I've had 1,000 impressions, meaning that this thumbnail has been shown to at least 1,000 different folks, or not different folks, but it's been shown 1,000 different times. The click-through rate is only 1.2%. So people see this thumbnail and they see the title and they're not clicking through. I mean, it's it. It's plain and simple. It is that simple, and it's that brutal. The fact is, for whatever reasons, this thumbnail is not doing it for this video. Now, it could also be things like maybe people just aren't that interested in the Depraved game. Or it could be that my extended title, A Laggy Old West Overrun by Bandits, the fact that I included that it's laggy, perhaps that turned off people. So there are different things. And who knows, maybe it's because I did this goofy cowboy thing. I mean, lots of different reasons. Maybe because it's an hour and a half long, right? So there's all these different factors that could come into play in terms of why these why the click-through rate is so low. And so I would take each of those into account. Is it the thumbnail? Is it the title? Is it the length? Which of these things may have been part of the reason, or is it all three combined that mess things up? So the easy way to fix a couple of those things, one, I could go back in here and I could change the title. So maybe I just say Depraved episode number 2, Overrun by Bandits. And then I leave the Laggy Old West part out. And then I run with that for another whatever, week, 2 weeks, whatever time I feel like I should be able to show that, and see if anything changes in terms of that impressions click-through rate. All right. If nothing changes, then perhaps at that point, maybe I go and I change the thumbnail. And I say, okay, let me put a different thumbnail on there. And so I assign a different thumbnail. And again, I let that run for a couple of weeks and we see what happens to there. But this video obviously needs some work. All right, so here is a high point click-through. And this was the the huge LeGranddaddy. That's the big LeGrand in BeamNG Drive. So if we look at this and we go to the reach viewers, look at there. This one has a 7.9% click-through rate. What's different about this thumbnail and this title compared to other videos that I've done? And that's the kind of thing that you need to look at when you're looking at your own channel. You want to see what is different here. And I can tell you one of the things that I've already noticed. Anytime I have a thumbnail that features a very large, prominent version of whatever it is that's being featured, they get much more click-through. So what that's telling me is that on the videos where I am doing more of a wide angle shot, those don't do as well. And so that tells me that I need to make sure that my future thumbnails, and if I want to go back and change the current thumbnails, but my future thumbnails, I need to focus in on whatever the main content is, because that's what seems to draw folks in. My main goal here today was to show you that when you go to studio.youtube.com and you go to your reach viewers, you can get your impressions and your impressions click-through rate, and then delve in deeper to your videos to get a feel for what videos are bringing people in, which ones are not bringing people in. And then at that point, you can work on editing the title, changing the thumbnail, doing what you need to do to get folks who see the video thumbnail to actually click through and come watch. So hopefully that helped. I just wanted to focus on that one thing today. So there you go. Got any questions, problems, suggestions, horror stories? Feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it so much. We'll see you next time.